Hello, everybody. This is Kaylee McMahon. Welcome back to Number One Leading Ladies, a podcast by women for women. The goal of the show is to lift each other up and not to tear each other down. So we have a special guest today, a good friend of mine, Neal, and she is going to be talking a little bit more about what she does. She's very well educated when it comes to finances, when it comes to real estate, and I won't go too much into it because I won't do her justice. Erica, welcome to the show. I'll let you introduce yourself.
Thanks, Kaylee. Well, thanks for having me. Like you said, my background is in finance. I've done traditional financial planning in the beginning part of my financial career. And when I got out of college, I got hired by one of the big box firms, like the big investment companies people are familiar with. So I get hired by them, and I thought I was all smart, all cool, and, knew everything. But anyway, I learned very quickly when you go work for company ABC, you were then forced to sell product ABC. So a lot of these big investment box firm type financial companies, they create their own proprietary accounts, and then they teach their advisors not necessarily how to do a financial plan, but really more how to sell a financial product. So anyway, ended up branching off of, leaving that world, and I went on into an independent platform. And really the independent platform just allowed me to pick and choose the companies that I work with. So instead of being stuck with one company, I got to pick, whatever Fortune 500 A-rated company I wanted, depending on the client I was working with and what they needed. Well, then I could find the perfect fit for them based on their needs as opposed to what I was stuck into. But I did single family landlord, type stuff for a little while. And that was a little much to handle. So got introduced to the multifamily world, and I've been, learning and growing and meeting with great people like you. You've taught me so much since then, and it's just been a very fun roller coaster all along the ride.
Cool. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on here today. So this will be just like a 25, 30 minute, just like kind of we're on the phone type casual interview. I just want to introduce our listeners to you because, like we were talking about before we got on, I am going to be bringing yourself and other interviewees kind of back into the fold, if you will. So we're coming out with a magazine, going to be featuring, because all of us as financial, real estate, accounting, et cetera, professionals, like we always have to keep very much up to date on what's happening and what's changing. And so I just thought that it would be a really good value to have you and some other ladies in that magazine to talk about, changes and kind of how to readjust, and then this is kind of an opportunity, like I said, to be more casual and listen to your story. And that's what people love. We're going to be coming out with some white papers, and what I thought was a white paper was like, sometimes it can be a case study where it has to be, I have a science degree, so like numbers and graphs and comparative data analysis, things like that. And it's like, no, that's not necessarily what we want in our white papers. We actually want people's stories and real life examples of, yes, it can be a case study, but it's a real life study and story of what's going on or what they experience. So today's interview, I've just got a couple of questions, and we may end up talking about other things, which is totally fine.
I totally see that happening. Yes.
Yeah, but and I want to keep it open. But there's a couple of key things that, like, every individual has different experiences when they're starting their own business, for example. A lot of people, women, this is a show that was, it's featuring women. So as a woman, I've had different age groups on the show, which is cool because they can talk about how it was in the 60s and 70s and now and all that. But for the most part, I still kind of hear the same thing, is that other people, when they look at a business owner and they're not a business owner, they go, oh, you have freedom to make whatever schedule you want, and you must make a lot of money. And, like that it's this pretty shiny thing being an entrepreneur, but in reality, it's different. So typically what happens is that to get your own business going, there's a lot of hats you wear. There's a lot of work you're doing way over and above what you'd ever do by yourself. And there's challenges that you have to overcome getting that business going. So my question is whenever you're getting your business up and going to the point where you're starting to get recognition and closing new business and whatnot, what were some big challenges that you had to overcome to start seeing some success, and how did you do it?
Really good question. And there's a lot to that. I would say for me personally, a big issue, not issue, but a big obstacle that I've had to overcome is the work life balance, right? So I'm married, have a couple kids, and it's one of those things where I enjoy my work and I want to be successful and I want to grow this business, but I also love my family and my kids won't be young forever. So I want to make sure that we're spending time and creating memories together. However, what I found is when I spend time on work, it doesn't have to be just work. And when I'm trying to figure out the work life balance, I'm trying to, number one, include my spouse on these things. Like we've got some real estate investment deals, and he's a part of that with me. My girls are 11 and 5, and I've even brought them in on a couple of real estate deals and going to look at properties and going and doing tours and explaining, like, hey, we've got this construction deal going on over here. Here's how this works. There's another asset. And so my work life balance has always been difficult, but I think when I look back and I see the good times of figuring that balance out, it's been because number one, I've either included them on that and gotten them a part of the process and we're doing it together. But also it's also having an understanding like, hey, this is what we're doing. The whole family's on board. Like we've had the conversation. This is why we're doing this, right? Like it's not the what right now. It's the real why of we're building this empire. We're building this, passive income source together so that we can accomplish what our community goal is. And so I think everyone's on board and that makes it so much easier. And I not that it doesn't perfect everything, but it makes it easier because we can all, in the midst of a frustration, look back on, okay, why are we doing this? And if we have that commonality, it makes it that much easier to move forward. um Other than that, like another thing for me is I get my little squirrel shiny thing. So prioritizing is not always easy for me. And trying to figure out what needs to be done on what timeline and what actually matters versus what doesn't. There's some things that I can get, oh my gosh, I can get so caught up on details. Like when I was building the website, I'm like, what shade of blue should I use? And I'm like, does it really matter? So making sure that I realize what I'm spending my time on. And a long time ago, one of the things I took away from that corporate America job I had a fantastic leader. The people were great, and I learned so much from him. It was just the model was very flawed. But he taught us a long time ago that on your calendar you have red time, yellow time, green time, and it's always stuck with me. And red is when you stop working and it's completely personal. And he told me when you're building out your calendar, always put your red time first. It may be, you have a family brunch that you're going to on Saturday, or, you've got your kids' soccer game on Thursday, or whatever it is that you're doing that's personal, get it on the calendar first, and then you work around that. And so I've tried really hard to do that. There's been times I've had to make adjustments, but I've always tried to put my red time on the calendar first. And then the next priority is going to be green time, which is green means money. So what is something that you're doing that's actually revenue producing? Am I out there meeting with investors? Am I out there, trying to, look at an asset or whatever it may be? And then the yellow time is when you're working on your business and not necessarily in it. So it may be administrative, it may be clerical, it may be, putting together emails or whatever, building my website, whatever that may be. And just trying to figure out, making sure I'm spending the right amount of time in the right place, and then trying to figure out, well, if I spend this much time on this activity, what return on that investment of time am I getting? And if I'm spending too much time in an area and I'm not getting any revenue or any sort of income generation from that, then I need to outsource that time. So I've just tried to be aware and try to track. I'm a writer. Like I have to sit down and write down, what did I do? What did I get out of it? And I love charts and all that stuff. So trying to figure out, I'll look back at my calendar. I spent this much time doing this activity. What did I get out of it? Okay, next quarter, I don't need to do that because obviously I'm wasting my time. But overall, just prioritizing is really difficult and figuring out what's important, what's not. So I literally have to sit down and write a list of everything I need to do. And then I'll mark it down with 1, 2, and 3. And then the ones are going to get done first, and the 3s that they don't get done, then those are things that can be outsourced or they're just really not important. So other than that, everything else kind of fits into that category. I'm just, like I said, I'm kind of a squirrel brain, and I'll go shiny things and follow things all over the place. So I really had to bring myself down to ground zero, look at it, list it out, and then make a point by point task list for myself so I know how to follow it. And then moving forward, measuring what makes sense and what doesn't.
Yeah. So now that you're being more digital, that we were talking earlier about, you're probably not writing it down. Where are you putting it?
Yes, I am putting it in the notes section of my iPhone. And I actually have different tasks lists depending on what it is that I'm doing. So I have a work task list. So it's something that my business partner and my assistant, all three of us are on there so that we can delegate and say, hey, this needs to be done. And we're actually delegating what task needs to be done and who is it assigned to. And then if there's any updates on that, I can go look and see periodically without having to reach out to, you know, my partner or my assistant or anything like that. And then I have a task list for myself, knowing, and that's where I do my prioritization of 1, 2s, and 3s. And you can change colors and do all those cool things with technology. I'm a visual person, so those colors tend to resonate with me. And then I have one for my family, which I told you I'm working on. My husband is not up. He doesn't like to do technology and all of that, but we are working towards it. So I utilize the notes section of my calendar to take notes on things, but I'm using the task app. And that's what allows me to actually keep things in a priority and then manage which task or what item that it is I need to accomplish, which category does it need to fall under.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to take some notes because you said it's the Task app or it's like the iPhone Notes. Is it like
There's a notes app and then there's task. Let me see, or reminders. I'm sorry. It's the reminders app.
Reminders app?
Mm-hmm.
Is that new with the new version of the iPhone?
I'm not sure.
I was gonna say I have something functioning similarly, but it's just different stuff. So reminders app. We'll have to like drop some links or whatever after this. So if anyone wants to find that stuff, including me.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this one came on the phone that I have now because I've been using it. I've had this phone for about 2 years now, so it's been on at least the last 2 years.
Yeah.
But I didn't have to download it. And then of course the notes section. I just put like if I don't know, if there's some website I need to look up or some, you know, I've even set myself, I found a really good apple pie recipe. So I send it to that so I wouldn't lose it kind of thing. Just a place for me to store links and information that I want to keep on top of.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So that's a big challenge, I think, for everybody. I still struggle with it personally. And I was going to say, what do you categorize the time that you have a property manager, a construction general contractor, a lender, a partner, a involved person blowing your ass up about stuff you're already on top of? Like, what do you code that as? Like magenta? Like time waster?
Yeah. Oh my
It
God.
is. So I try to use those apps that you're mentioning, different apps, but the idea of instead of, because I don't like to micromanage, but I've learned over and over again that you have to have expectations and make those super clear. And even when I say it and then put it on a document and then send it to everybody, and I just do it once, like nothing gets done. And so then it ends up stressing me out, and then I feel like I'm micromanaging them. They feel like they're being micromanaged, yada yada. So putting it into an app like that, where like I use Trello, well, we use Slack, which is just basically an internal communication thing. So you're not popping back and forth between emails. I can't find this chain. I can't find this document, whatever. It's all in one place with all of the related people involved seeing it at once. And that way it's separate from like a text message or email or whatever. It's just an app. So there's a notification and it doesn't blow you up. It can just stay in the little app over here until it's Monday, Tuesday, right? And you can work. And then Trello has been great because it's probably similar to what you're using where it's cards. And the cards basically are like a project we're working on. And it's in a column where it's like to do, urgent to do, done, whatever. And then on each card, you put like the title of it. And then you can see like the initials of the person it's assigned to. And then it's got a due date on there. And whenever it gets closer to the due date, it changes color like green, yellow, red. And red, it's either like due that day or it's past due. And it will send you email reminders automatically. But this is just something easy from the phone. I don't have to look at the CRM and the computer to keep track of stuff, where I can just kind of see where everybody's at with everything. And those people that are tagged in there, like they can check off stuff they've done, like under that project. If there's a you can attach photos and stuff of things you want to be used, and you can make a checklist underneath that same card of like step 1 through 6 is this, and my assistant will go off and check off 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. So I can just look at it and I don't have to micromanage anybody or email or call or text, where is this? Where is this? It's right in front of you, so
I
the,
like that a lot.
the problem is the people that won't adopt it, they're making it difficult for everybody. So I just fired a property management company that, I mean, they'll probably get pissed that I said something online. I don't care. I didn't say their names, but anyway, I
Yeah.
fired a company because that's really what the thing was. Is at the end of the day, it was the breakdown in communication, and communication, they are doing it one way and wanted me to adopt that way, but that way is not efficient. Like if you're using something as a company, you have to think of your end user. How are they using it? And the like Resman software, it's great software, but to be able to follow your tasks, who's assigned to those tasks, when they're due, it's in the software, but you can only really use it on a PC. The app is really great, and then also the app doesn't let you see the tasks, and it doesn't let you assign or move or any of that stuff. And again, it's the kind of thing where you put a bookmark on your homepage and you click on it and it takes you to the URL. It's not an app. They haven't designed an app yet. So then I go, well, that's fine. I'm on my phone 99% of the time, so I'm going to need it on the phone. Otherwise I'm going to look at my computer twice a week, be like completely unaware of what's going on, probably email you or call you or text you and bother you about stuff that like it's already there, and annoy the crap out of you. So anyway, smoother communication when there is a CRM system, when there is a, it's user friendly, but all that, the communication, being organized and really following that, color coded system. That's the hard part. I like how you said putting your red time first, because that's something in therapy every week I've been talking about, and I don't have a solution for it. I know it needs to happen, and it does happen more now than it ever has before, because what happens is that everything right now is on my phone or computer, and especially the computer. I try to do as much on here as I can because I'm at home. We're in quarantine right now still, partially, and so everything is on the screen, and then like when I'm done, I just shut the computer, and then like we're done. And then if people continue to call, text, and email and stuff, I just let it roll over till tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like I'll be around. I've been better at that now that I probably get back about 2.5 hours a day of not running around time, like going to speak at things or meeting people or having coffee or any of that kind of stuff. I don't do that anymore. So this has given me like a shock of how much more I can get done and more efficiently. And so therefore I don't feel the need to stay up at night doing stuff. I can just take the red time. But yeah, putting it in first is a really good idea. I'm going to take some notes. You always get this red.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, I am the world's worst at like trying to, and which is weird because I don't consider myself an optimist. I'm more of like a realist kind of person, but I'm an extreme optimist when it comes to me being able to accomplish a task in a certain amount of time. Like, oh, I can get from point A to point B. Oh, I can easily do that in 20 minutes, but I'm going to have to hit every green light, no traffic, no wrecks, when in real life that's not going to happen. But for whatever reason, like I always plan my schedule as if it will. And so, in order to keep myself from being late to a soccer game or whatever, I'm like, okay, I have to put this down first and create a buffer, because if I don't, then I will not do it. I won't do it for myself. So I have to make my technology do it for me. But I like what you said too about, setting the expectations with your team, with your, property managers or whoever you're working with. That's actually something I've started to pick up from you, because you have done a great job even in our relationship. Like I've learned, hey, what's the best way to communicate? And something I learned from you was, we'll chat like via text, but when there is a thread of like questions and like a list or a longer type response, I know that you want those via email. So like yesterday when I was texting you about whatever I texted you about, I said, hey, I'm also going to send you emails about the magazine and questionnaire and things that I have. So I love that you do that. And that's something that I've started to pick up on as well. When I'm meeting with people, whether it be clients or investors or even honestly, even my friends, like none of them are in an entrepreneurial type system, and that's fine, but I have to set the expectation like, hey, this is what I'm doing, and hey, if y'all want to do something on a Friday night, then this is what I'm going to be doing, and this is how my Fridays go, so this is the time that I'm going to be there. Just setting the expectation up front so they know that I'm not being rude or discourteous or whatever it may be. Like, this is just how my system is, and they know that. So that seemed to work out. And I've started to pick up on that from you, because I think you set expectations very well on like, here's what I'm expecting.
I need
And I want to follow those just because I want people to pay that same respect to me, kind of thing.
I need to get better. I mean, because like the challenge for me is that like for sure in my head I know exactly what needs to happen, when, where, why, whatever, and then no one can read your mind, so, and I'm unique, and that was the biggest part of that, was um learning as someone who wants to do business with all kinds of different people, to learn myself and my learning style. So I had to do that with my marketing company that I just hired. She would send me these long ass emails on a Friday night, and I'd read it and go, whatever, and move on. I'd literally read the first line, skim last line. And that's actually what I do. Like, cause people like, for example, investors or people that like want to say no, they have to give you this long ass email. And I'm like, just say no. Like, literally, I don't care. I literally don't care. So, if there's something you don't understand or you have a question, so for me, everyone that comes into contact with me, I'm like, if you could just send me a one-liner, if you could send me bullet points, numbered lists, 2 sentences, with very much like, here's what I need or whatever. Or like, for example, I've got someone right now who's sending me a shit ton of long emails and stuff. And then I'm reading through it and I'm like, there's no questions. These are all like statements. Like, there's nothing in here. This is like, I feel like this. I feel like this. It's like therapy in an email basically. And so I'm just like, well, like, unless you give me an action item that you need me to do, or there's a question mark behind it, like, I don't know. I'm not going to like email you back and not think that way. Like, you can think however you want. You know what I'm saying? Like, email for me is data, so I have to be clear about knowing like how I accept data, and then also give it too. I'm working on that part.
Yeah, it's dealing with people in general is difficult, because everyone is different. But when somebody has a system, and if it's a system that's different, like, then depending, like you said, then it comes to a whatever the word is, like a compromise of which one actually makes sense for our model, for what we're trying to accomplish. And if those two people are not willing to come to an agreement, then we don't need to work together. And that's not a bad thing, right? Like, there's a lot of people that I've met and they're great people, and I try to be as good of a person as I can, but there's some people that we just, we end up not doing business together because we are not in a position to be able to compromise or align what we're trying to accomplish, the way we do things. And that's okay.
And that's funny too, is that like, I just wrote a blog this week, it's not published yet, but about differing communication, because I'm trying to figure out why there aren't more women in multifamily real estate. And it's like, is I don't think it has anything to do with like people are like sexist, maybe there's a portion of that, but I don't think that that's the majority of it. And so I think the blog that I wrote out was really well thought out, but basically just like, when you're around someone where your communication style is like 100% different, it makes it really difficult to like want to talk to the person, to want to do business, to want to even be on the phone, to want to, you know what I mean? So it's got to be a mutual understanding in the way that multifamily really is. And it's a chess game, you know what I mean? So men are taught to have like no emotions and show nothing. And that's the same in like their personal life versus their work life. It works well in the work life because you have to be you're the leader of the team. So any kind of doubt or any kind of fear or any kind of irrational bullshit that you have going on that you haven't thought through and then come up with a solution yet, all it does is get the morale down. Like, you're the ultimate morale leader. So someone that's like that can't lead. But anyway, being able to communicate with people, pluses, like, you can be excited, you can be happy, that's cool. But when it comes to like, I'm not sure if we can do this, I don't know how this is going to go. And like, I have to then take that away from the business world and then go to therapy, go talk to my friends, like that kind of stuff I can share with them, which is just interesting because that's actually not how I want to be. I really want to just like say whatever's on my mind. But I've realized that, that I can handle certain harsh realities or things that like, I mean, you just have to find a solution, and lots of people can't. They freak out. Like they'll leave. Like, I've got someone now that she just knows too much information. And so now I'm getting blown up every day with calls about stuff. And I've had to bring in some other backup to be like, look, like, it's under control. We are sorry we told you so much information. Like, it's under control, literally, like, but some of this takes patience, some of this takes workouts, some of this takes negotiations, and which also takes seeing the person's view from the other side. But nothing is immediate, nothing, no one's suing anyone, it's just, anyway. So, yeah, so communication, so time blocking is a challenge. Communication can be a challenge, but I think if you're willing to work through it, I mean, whatever. And I was going to say about that person that, you had mentioned that you've got someone resisting the communication medium on your side to making it smooth. It's the exact same thing with this person. And I'm kind of sitting over here. I'm going to let it just manifest itself, however it ends up manifesting itself. But right now the feeling I'm getting is that I'm enjoying the Zoom. I'm enjoying the efficiency. I could be wearing no pants right now. You know what I mean? Like nobody knows. Wearing a sweatshirt, but I can get the same stuff done, meet with the same people, you know what I'm saying? And actually I talked to 3 lenders yesterday, and I had like 1 or 2 more to talk to today. And it's a 15-minute call, in and out, done. And we get exactly what needs to happen. And then I put a reminder on my phone to follow up with them once a month to, talk about their assets that are on their books, stuff like that. There's no reason to do all the extra, but then this individual who wants to put a lot of money into our deals is very, 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 old school Texan. Like, I want to see your face. I want to go to the property and lick it. I want to, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Well, right now, like, we can't do due diligence because, we've tried. Like, we can't do due diligence because of people. Like, we can't force our entry into their unit if they're immunocompromised. It all actually right now because of what's going on with COVID. We can't evict them. We can't. We have to respect their life. We have to respect their wishes. This is their dwelling. This is their home. And I, told him, I was like, I don't have a business without these clients. Like, if I don't respect my residents, we won't have a business. You know what I mean? So that's number one priority is what they need. And then I get it. Like, money's got to move and stuff. And if it's not the right timing, that's okay. But, basically, like, long story short, the only property I could take him to that's heavy in the middle of something that would be a good example, deal to look at is out in West Texas. And I'm like, if you want to get in the car with me all day there and back, I'm there once a month and I go, you're welcome to, but it's not going to be a convenient thing right now. And anyway, he was just being real. Like,
Yeah.
oh, everyone's getting pulled back by COVID. Da, da, da. I'm like, no, I'm still working. I'm beefing up marketing. I'm having more meetings than ever, webinars where I'm probably bringing on another 100 to 150 new investors per week right now because of all these really efficient ways to do webinar presentations instead of being somewhere, being stuck in Dallas. Now I've got people watching from LA, Houston, Dallas, whatever, and you're getting the same presentation. So anyway, I like this a lot more. And I basically said, we can get on the phone for like 15 minutes and I can figure out exactly kind of where you're at, what you need, and we'll figure out if that works. And he's just like refused. And I'm like, so that's why I'm going to just let it manifest itself, because while that person could really help us to be able to take down a good deal that's going to give great returns, right now there's some cash deals, that I'm missing out on that we could take advantage of. At the same time, I've realized through what I've done already that you are partners with people, truly partners with them, for years. And when you have somebody who is just like inflexible and not understanding and doesn't want to be reasonable, it's not a good thing.
There's an opportunity cost. Like, some people, like, you may be giving up the cash or the investment from that person, but you're also with that buying your sanity. Yeah, there, I know exactly what, and there's some people like, and I don't want to say it's the older generation. One of the people I'm dealing with is younger. They're stuck in their ways. Yeah.
I don't know.
It's just, they're stuck in their ways, and there's people who are going to adapt and there's people who aren't. And
yeah, I'm doing the same thing with my dad right now. You know what I mean? Like, he lives on a mountain and lives in like whatever. He just works on his truck all day when he's not at work. And he's just been doing the same stuff forever, before I ever knew him. You know what I mean? I met him 3 years ago. So, and his girlfriend's been with him longer than like 15 years, you know what I mean? And so she knew I existed. But anyway, so I go see them and stuff. And it's interesting because like she just kind of lets him be him 100%, because for them at this moment, there is no financial difference in him tinkering on his truck versus sitting on the couch. You know what I mean? Like, doesn't make a difference. Now, if there was some financial tie to that, that might be different. But so she just lets him be, and I have different expectations of him. When I fly there and come to see him, I try my best to warn them ahead of time. But I'm the one paying for everything coming across the country to come visit, and he still wants to work on his truck. And I'm like, I get it, you've done it forever, but like, I'm here, let's be flexible. You know what I mean? Or like what I tried to do was create a channel on Slack where I could kind of journal to him during the week, because we'll get on a phone call. I've had to teach him Sundays are good because every other day I'm working during the week, but to get on a phone call, and it's just our session to kind of catch up for the week and stuff. But there's a lot I miss. And we both are obviously verbal processors. So I have to like kind of just stop talking the whole time for an hour or so. But I was like, oh, I could like journal to you in my Slack channel, be a private channel just between you and I can send photos, kind of update you on what's going on, whatever. And he just, nope, like, keeps the old, like an old burner phone kind of, like he's never upgraded his phone. Like it's like a flip phone. Like you can barely see the screen. I can't even send photos or anything. So when I first met him, I had no idea what he looked like, because I did have his number, but he didn't have a phone that could send photos. And then his girlfriend just taught him email. But anyway, yeah, it is the older generation. And it's just people that want to learn versus don't. You know what I mean? Like my grandma, she's like me. We're like crazy people that like sponge everything up. So she begs me multiple times a week to do FaceTime, Zoom, WebEx, whatever it takes. She's like, I want to keep up with my grandkids because that's important enough to her. But then again, she's also, I can't take offense, she's just more of a learner. Yeah. Some people like it. And what I realized too, in every communication, when I want something from the person on the other end, it's just really like, even with my team, when we get on our weekly calls, it's repetition. And it's not like training a dog, but kind of, where once people get used to a certain thing, and then like maybe they don't perform the way you want or something doesn't go right, then I always have to look at myself and go, oh, well, I didn't set the expectation and I didn't set the pattern up consistently the same every time. That's my bad, So with him, it's just, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. And over time, he'll either adopt some of it, which I think he's starting to, and make it a little bit easier. And then I think he'll enjoy it more once he realizes, oh, now I have access to like a bunch of stuff I've been missing out on, So communication's hard. Okay, so let me get into a couple of other questions. So we talked about some of our difficulties, how we got over those in starting a business. And then I want to know, which one do I want to ask first? What has been your biggest lesson?
Oh my gosh. There's quite a few. I think probably my biggest lesson, and I'm still going through it right now. My husband and I were just having this conversation yesterday of me getting out of my own head. And I think this is, like stereotypes or whatever, like I think this might be a woman thing, but I have a hard time asking for things. I have a hard time asking for help. I have a hard time asking for business. I have a hard time just being I don't ever want to be a problem. I don't ever want to be an issue that somebody has. I don't want to create problems in other people's lives. So I'd rather bear all that load myself or not get benefit for myself, because I'm like, oh, I don't want to bother that person. And I'm starting to, but on the other side, like when I think about it from the flip side, I have no problem. Like if somebody asks me to do something, I will do everything I can to make sure that I do it for them. And the only time that I won't do it is if there is no way under the sun that it's not possible. So I think my biggest lesson is figuring out, like, yes, it is okay to utilize your resources, your partners, your friends, utilize them, but obviously being able to reciprocate that is important, but not to your own demise. So figuring out the give and take of business and relationships. I was telling my husband about it, and he's like, well, have you followed up with this person, and kind of asking about this, this deal that we have going on. It's out in Weatherford. It's a new land development. And he was asking me like, well, have you talked to, the owner of it yet? I said, no, I haven't called him. He's like, why not? And I was like, I don't have a legit reason other than I don't want to bother him. He's like, this is a business deal. Like, you need to be in communication. I was like, okay, no, you're right. So I did. I reached out to the person. He goes, oh, I'm so glad you called. I've been meaning to follow up with you. And in my head, I'm like, see, Erica, like, this is why you need to be in touch with people, because they do want you to be in contact with them, just like you want them to be in contact with you. So that literally just happened yesterday. But yeah, just being able and willing to reach out to people and let them know and say, this is what I want. This is what I need. And it may not be something for them to be able to fulfill right now, but if you tell people what it is that you're trying to accomplish and what it is that you want and speak it into life, people will know. They can't help you. They can't give you what you want or give you what you need or make that connection if you don't verbalize what it is that you want or need. So that's something I'm really, really working on, is being able to say, this is who I am, this is what I'm trying to accomplish, and this is what I need to make it happen. And then all the people in my life that love and support me, they may not be able to do it immediately, but when they are able to, I know they will.
Or what people will do is they'll try to connect you with someone that can, you know?
Yes.
And so that's great. So, I mean, you're basically like not wasting anyone's time, and then they probably know a friend or someone that your thing that you need help with or whatever is also beneficial to them. So then they're making this like warm intro and referral to someone who like you're going to mutually be able to help each other. So I mean, I think it's super imperative, you know. And I always one thing that I realize when you're talking to anybody out there, you're always if you can think sitting in their chair, like in their body, and think looking out through their eyes. If I was going through what they're probably going through right now, what would I want to hear is in it for me. So like anybody else that I talk to, if I before I ever call them or whatever, if I already know their probable angle or probably what they're going through or probably what would help them, you know, and I basically said at some point when we're talking, I bring that up, you know, but in a story. Like I'll be like, so we worked with this person before, they had this issue and we're able to do this for them. And then they're like, yeah. And or like on LinkedIn a lot. I'm on there a lot right now because people are very active. And so it's interesting because some people are kind of assholes. You know what I mean? Like I have this script that I use. It's basically like, have you ever invested in apartments before? In the past, we've made our partners 7 to 15% return quarterly, and this on sale, and this is the tax benefits you'd get out of it. What's your level of interest? Like that's like literally it's the same thing that like angel investors get and passive investors and all these other people that they get it. Some people are total assholes about it. Like no, they'll go no, or they won't respond, which is fine. But if they do respond in a mean way, every time I'm like, what can I do to help you on your journey? Like what can I do to help? You know, and that immediately like takes that down. So I think some of my problem is I fear a little bit of that reaction. If you're contacting someone, you're going out of your way, then they get an attitude about, you know, you just trying to do business. And then I go, okay, well, then what can I give you? How about that? Let's go there, you know? And so again, then it will go, they'll disarm themselves, and there's never like a problem. And if they have a problem, like whatever, but they will either be able to work with you to accomplish the same thing or give you to someone else who can. That actually happened to me with a family office where I was really nervous about contacting them because they're very particular in like the initiatives they partake in, how the family's money is spent, how well they know the sponsor. They don't usually do one-off deals like we do, but they're starting to. Just all kinds of, any kind of cold calling. I don't cold call. That's the only cold calling I've ever done, is like trying to figure out internally in a family office, like who is in charge of, I can't remember what I was looking for specifically. It was the initiative driven family offices who is in charge of like putting on events or whatever. But anyway, so I ended up talking to someone that basically was kind of like, no, you don't have 100 million assets under management. No, you haven't done this. No, you haven't done that. We don't basically, we don't even want to talk. So he was basically just going to like hang up the phone and like waste that time that I finally got through to somebody. I mean, I wasn't trying that hard, but I knew who to call on the list, you know, but I did get him to pick up, you know. And for me, when it comes to that business, if I can't directly get to that person, I just move on to the next, because the decision maker is the important person. But anyway, so I ended up going, let me share a little bit about my vision and why. And I'm actually really at the end of the day looking for the very few people in this planet, I don't care if they're family offices or individuals or whatever, that are in alignment with bringing more women into commercial real estate, with having, funds and resources for women who are in toxic relationships so they can get out. That's really my purpose. And he goes, oh my God, I have the perfect person. So crazy. This person was like in LA or New York or somewhere else, and ended up hooking me up with a gal named Michelle, who is like the only leader and owner of a multifamily, like multi-billion dollar family office organization. And she's in Fort Worth.
Oh my gosh. What
Yeah.
are the odds?
Yeah. And we get on the phone and we're quarantined. So it was even cooler because instead of there being this pressure to go have lunch or whatever, we just talked on the phone.
Yeah.
It was that simple. And then what I was trying to extrapolate from her, she wouldn't give it to me at first, but by the end of the call, I was like trying to figure out what is it that she needs to make her business do well. And so when we talked, what do we have in common? So I'm searching for these high net worth individuals. It's exactly who she works with: high net worth women, high net worth individuals, where they're managing their family offices, portfolios. And so I'm like, you know what? We're beefing up our marketing like crazy right now. And I have a list like this long of all of the wealthiest zip codes on the planet, all of the wealthiest places that people like the most high-end places people hang out. I did a lot of research for us to be able to move our avatar of the ideal client into that box, right? And so I told her, I go, so obviously they would be a client in common. Like if they like me, they're going to like you. Would you mind if I introduced them, to you? She's like, no, that would be awesome. So obviously we're still in the process of getting our marketing. So you have to have the infrastructure correct, which will be done Friday. And then once that's done, then we can start driving traffic to it, because now it's like attractive to be clickable, and now it's, whatever. But so my goal is to help her. And then, shoot, I just want like 10 of those relationships.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, I don't.
Well, no, I think it is a matter of like quality over quantity that makes your job easier. And I'm kind of in the same boat, like in my previous life of like the traditional financial planning, like you call people and you're calling on people constantly. And I get it. Like the number of phone calls I get every day of people trying to sell me or solicit me, like I get it. And people are just frustrated in there. And sometimes they're just flat out rude, like, no, and they'll just click, hang up on you or whatever. So I think my experience in that world kind of led me to this whole like fear of calling on somebody and then being rude or mean or whatever. But I've also learned not to take it personal, that it's usually not you, that there's something going on in the background. But when you do like make it about them, like, hey, here's the value that I want to add for you, or what can I do to add value for you? Then you create this mutual beneficial relationship versus parasitic. Because people, I mean, they're just tired of, being sold or being scammed or one more person trying to take their money. And I get it. And I've been in the same boat. I am in the same boat regularly. So it's one of those things where, yeah, I just want to make sure that, like you said, how can we add value to you? What can we do to help you? And then hopefully people will start to see your heart and your values are in alignment, because that's when I think the strongest relationships are formed, when you have business partners, but you have a relationship with them built on trust. You know what I mean? And I think that's when these powerhouses start to come into play, when you're aligned with people who see the same thing and you're all rowing in the same direction. That's when you're going to get there the fastest.
It's so hard to figure that out. Like, dealing with that, now, and probably always will, or whatever, learning again, but just because there's certain value systems that, like, I know 100% are like true and need to happen with me, happen with them. But like honesty looks differently to different people. So that's another thing that, or like, so for example, like, someone that chooses to spill their guts about the drama and the negative and the stuff that's keeping me up at night and just like basically gossip. That's not how I tell truth. Like I literally like deal with that on my own time with my therapist and whatever. And then I cut the fat and I express what happened or is happening with the people who need to know. Like there's a difference. So I'm also learning that some people, for example, some of my siblings, they're very detail oriented. And if you're not someone that like goes, well, I bought the blue box. That's how I would explain it. Like I bought the blue box. It was on sale. And then they're like, well, why did you? And why didn't you do it this day? And why didn't you do it at this tax rate at this state? And why? They want the full explanation, and it's not necessary. And so some people like make you feel bad if you don't give them the whole explanation. And that's just not how I communicate. So anyway, but so it sounds like we both learned a lot, and I'm still learning every day. We've got,
Yeah, we all.
oh shoot, I have got to start another podcast. Well, Erica, well, I've got 7 seconds, so I'll have to start another one. So we'll keep up on here, and I'll use this audio. So, but we can wrap up. So I knew this would go like this because I like talking to you. You know, we always have like things to help each other with. But for the individuals out there, you know, we kind of talked about how you're in the financial world. What exactly could you help our listeners understand, I think?
Well, I would say there's two different groups of people who are in real estate and people that are not in real estate. So people who are not in real estate, I can still work with them. They're not my primary target base, but my biggest goal in financial planning in my I guess everyday job is education. And that stems from like my background. Like my family does not know anything about money. They are fantastic, wonderful people. I love them. But if they taught me anything about finance, it was what not to do, kind of thing, right? And that's okay, because, well, it's not okay, but the point of that is, like, I know so many people out there are the exact same way. My mother-in-law were just having this conversation this weekend over how, like, finance, like true finance, is not taught. It's not something most people understand. And then even people who do get involved and try to do the right thing, right? They're saving money, they're trying to invest, they're trying to do all of these things. They are almost in like this bait and switch scenario, right? Like these massive investment companies, Wall Street, they love to fluff the numbers, and they love to, statistics are all based on the way that you calculate numbers, right? That can all be manipulated very easily, and it is. And so my point is, most people don't realize what they're doing, what type of return they're actually getting, who's making more money on their own money than they are, what impact taxes actually have, 401ks, IRAs, Roths, other investments. So anyway, the people who are not in real estate still need to understand how money works, and the way that you save it is important, not because you need to earn the biggest rate of return, but at some point you have to be able to flip the switch and start taking your money out. So right now you're working for your money. You're going to your, 8 to 5, whatever it may be. At some point you're going to either have to or want to stop working, and your money's going to have to start working for you. People know how to save and grow money, but they don't know how to build it in a way that is going to create consistent cash flow for the rest of their life. So people who aren't in real estate really need to understand that. But on the other side, people who are in real estate, what I have found, and we've actually launched our new financial planning firm. It is specific to real estate investors and business owner, Infinity Investment Strategies, and we are focused on people who are entrepreneurial, because a lot of times whenever you're trying to do financial planning or save or do something in the form of finance, if you go to your Edward Jones guy or Charles Schwab and you're a real estate investor, they're going to say, no, don't put your money in real estate. I've got this cool mutual fund over here for you, right? And they're going to, it's like pulling teeth just to get anywhere with them. So our firm is focused on helping people, teaching people how to create efficient cash flow and liquidity accounts. And I mean, right? Like I teach a lot of the infinite banking concept, because most people, if you put money into the bank, it's safe and it's liquid, but you're not going to really get any growth out of it, right? So if you're saving your money there, you're almost losing money every year because of inflation. But if you're wanting to invest in real estate soon enough, then you need to have it somewhere safe and liquid. On the flip side, I see people put their money into investment accounts, whether it be like an IRA or brokerage accounts, whatever it may be, because they're hoping that their money is going to grow until they get to a point of being able to invest it in real estate. So they're hoping their money is going to grow, but it's not safe, right? Like we've just seen like what the market can do in a split second. And sometimes those things are not liquid. Real estate isn't always immediately liquid. If people have money in a 401k, it's not liquid. So it's this inefficiency of, if you want your money to be safe and liquid, you have to sacrifice growth. But if you want growth, you have to sacrifice safety and liquidity. So what we've done is we breach we bring both of those, we bridge the gap between those two and create this happy medium with the infinite banking concept of, well, if I want to save money so I can invest in real estate, I need to do it to where it's safe, but it is guaranteed to grow so I can beat inflation. I need it to, I need it to be immediately liquid. Like I need my money right now, it's in my account within 24 hours, but also let's provide some tax benefits along the way. Real estate has so many tax benefits and it's lost. So we need to make sure that this money is growing tax-free and there's tax benefits associated with it. And then of course, privacy. I think this is overlooked a little too much, right? We're in a sue happy world. So infinite banking allows you to protect your money from creditors and predators. But anyway, it's not a my daddy beat up your daddy situation. It's making sure that our bank accounts, our investments, and our intermediate savings are, infinite banking, bank on ourselves savings. All three of those are supposed to work together in unison. And that's where we create the most efficiency. And that's where we have what Robert Kiyosaki talks about, which is the velocity of money. So that's what we try to teach people. And it seems to be going really well. I mean, it works for us. I've been using it for years. And there's a lot of people in real estate that have been using that for years and decades. And so it's just really interesting and valuable to know that this is going to stand the test of time, regardless of the economic environment and whatever's going on in real estate. So
Awesome. Yeah. It's a lot to learn. So if anyone that's listening right now wants more information or to understand it better, Erica's obviously an expert at what they do and taught me quite a bit. Erica, how can our listeners get a hold of you?
awesome question. So we have several platforms now. Our website is going to be launching within the next couple weeks, and it's just infinityyinvestmentstrategies.com, all spelled correctly. Investment is singular. Infinityyinvestmentstrategies.com. We're also on Facebook and Instagram, exact same name. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram, Erica Neal. And other than that, feel free to email me at erica@infinityyinvestmentstrategies.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, listeners, for always being loyal and listening to us week to week. Tune in again for next week. We will be featuring another powerhouse lady in real estate / finance / whatever she is the boss at. But thank you for tuning in this week, and we'll see you again next week on Number One Leading Ladies.